It has a big front line Sunday. What kind of problem does that pose for you?
Well, the one thing they do a great job of is protecting the rim, and I think Leonard has done a really good job of trying, getting back to some of the defensive principles that have made them so tough in the past. And I think every game that they've been successful at, they've looked like the Florida State teams that everybody has grown accustomed to. Hard pressure, a lot of physical play, and hard to score on. And when they get into a flow offensively, then they're one of the best teams in the league, and they've proven that in some of these key games. To win at Pittsburgh is so impressive, and the way they did it, they led from start to finish and dominated in almost every aspect of the game.
Looking back at the Notre Dame game, I would think offensively, despite the fact that you lost, you did a lot of good things. You must have taken some encouragement from the bigger picture.
Yeah, the game was lost in the last 7.5 minutes of the first half.
Right.
And offensively, we were the same, more or less. We scored 22 points in the first 14 minutes, 13.5 minutes, and then 9 points in the last 6.5 minutes. So we were 2 points off offensively than we were in the problem was they scored 22 points in the last 7 minutes. And our defense kind of let us down in that particular case. We got some, critical stops when we needed them, when we were down 7. And offensively, we did a pretty good job. You just don't expect, with some of the shots that we got, some guys not to make some of them, so, again, there was a couple crucial times you step up to the free throw line. Not that we shot terribly from the line, but that's been an Achilles heel, making a couple big free throws to keep it within one possession or to extend it. And that's just something that, again, you get frustrated because you're close and you're right there again. You just got to figure out ways to win those games.
I guess you look back at the season and you look at some of those, there's a couple of those different stretches in each game, and if things are going differently, we'd be talking about a different Georgia Tech team.
Yeah, and some of that is related to the physical ailments that we've had. You look at, Trey's stats in the 6 games prior to his injury. He was playing as well as maybe anybody in the league, almost at 20 points a game. I think he's scored 19 total points since he's been back. And so, those are things that happen during the year. And, as you continue in this process, what you have to get to a point is figuring out, even when those things happen, how you can still finish off some games, or in those crucial times, make the plays that you need to be successful at the end of the game.
Defensively, is White a tough matchup for you?
Yeah, he's a really good player, and he's a senior, so he's got experience behind him as well. We've faced a lot of high quality 3 and 4 men in the league. This league is loaded with them. So again, Cam and Robert have their work cut out for them, because when they take him out, they bring in another senior in Gilchrist, or they bring in a very highly talented freshman in Smith. So you're going to be challenged. And you talked about their size earlier. They're all big and long, so even when they don't necessarily score on their first option, there's an offensive rebounding aspect of the game that's so important when you play Florida State.
In the last 2 games in particular, has it been kind of some slippage, I guess, with the defensive transition, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's been a big key for us, is some giving up some transition baskets. You have to, those are those easy points, that you have to get to be successful in games, and to be successful, you need to eliminate those from the other team. So that's obviously a key point for us in our emphasis over the next couple of weeks.
Has it necessarily been shots versus missed shots leading to transition versus turnover?
Yeah, some of it is, our transition defense has been good where we're back,
right,
but we haven't stopped the ball, or we haven't communicated. And anytime you have 2 guys on the ball in transition, I've always said I'm not great at math, but they have 5 players and we have 5 players.
Right.
So if we have 2 guys on one, that means someone's open.
Right.
And in this league, if you leave guys open in the flow of an open court situation, you're going to put yourself in a difficult position defensively.
Is that a factor of not having everyone in practice, or is it?
I think a little bit has to do with that in terms of, and obviously the transition defensive point is something that the only way to work on it is to be going live up and down the court.
Right.
And at this point of the season with some of the stuff, you just haven't been, we haven't been able to do that as much. Short spurts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. There's the fatigue factor. There's the, as you talked about, the rhythm of practice, so you're able to work on that stuff. But as the kids nowadays say, it is what it is, and so you got to figure out a way to get it done.
Is that also maybe a communication problem?
Yeah, and I think if there's 300 press conferences going on right now with an illustrious group like this all over the country, every coach would say that one of the main issues is communication among players nowadays. Guys just don't talk as effectively, and let me rephrase that. There's probably 25 teams that the coaches are happy with it, and those are the top 25 teams in the country.
Brian, is it, I don't know if it's frustration for you or anybody. It's not one thing you can put your finger on. It's either we go on a spurt of no free throws, no defense, and no offense. Is that difficult, even more difficult for you?
Well, it is when you know you're pretty close to having a pretty good team, and you add that to the fact that the team that we're playing and even the guys that are out there playing aren't either completely themselves or you don't have everybody out there. So when you pile on, a small mistake here or there, our margin of error has become so small, and the game is decided on one or two plays that you can point out. We go under a one ball screen, and Atkins hits a three. He hasn't hit a three behind a ball screen in a month. You know what I mean? And we make the one mistake, and he did. Now he's a senior. That's what guys like that are supposed to do. So you look at those things, and you have to handle your frustration. You have to handle the cards that you've been dealt, and stay positive and teach, and hopefully the guys will learn. And as we've mentioned, we've made some growth in some key areas, and unfortunately it hasn't been enough to, when you get into the last 3-4 minutes of games. I think now we've played 11 of them, and we're 4-7 in those games. And if you're 6-5 or 7-4 if you've reversed it, I got a big smile, and there's probably more people here for the media day too. You know what I mean? And that's the line that you kind of tiptoe around, or the tightrope that you're trying to stay on.
Do the guys realize and still keep their function knowing we're so close?
Yeah, and it's hard for them, but you have to, when the dust settles and everything, you got to give these guys some credit now, because there have been times with all the stuff and the tough losses that, and they keep coming back and battling back, and I think it says a lot about our seniors, because they're the ones with the most at stake in it. You got two of them that are, not at 100%, playing, with some, banging up knees and groins and different things like that, and they just keep fighting. So, you gotta have a sense of pride in that, and at the same time, you want it so bad for them because of what they've given.
Do you think Trey will be able to get back to getting the explosion he had before he got injured?
I think it's going to be difficult for him, just due to the fact that, again, it's hurt. It's not an injury anymore. So he's able to perform. He's able to compete. He just maybe not be able to do the things. I think, to be honest with you, that down the road it's going to be, 2 weeks of nothing but rehab and rest, and no competitive situations for him to get back, and he'll have you have April to do that.
You mentioned about the different things and how close you are. Are there one or two things that you feel like going in each game? I know I can count on rebounding or whatever it is that's been pretty good.
Yeah, our defense, our half-court defense has been good. You know, it's been good enough to win a lot of games.
Right.
Now with Robert back, for the most part, our rebounding is, you're not going to see us get out rebounded by 15 like we did against Pittsburgh anymore. Though, you know, at least, I mean, if you ask me if I can count on that,
Right.
going into every game, I would think that. I think going into every game, our guys know what our objectives are and are well prepped for the game and what we need to do. You know, and you would, you know, for the most part, and you know, you can count on Daniel's defense. You
Right.
can count on, you know, stuff like that. And you know, again, it gets skewed a little bit because Sherman played a heck of a game, okay, but he only made 3 baskets on Daniel. You know, and a couple of them were when we were in the trap and we didn't trap him. You know what I mean? So. And we've talked at length before, you know, when anybody scores on him, he gets, you know, he's frustrated.
Right.
He gets upset because he's really good,
Right.
you know. So, but, you know, those are things that, you know, day in and day out, you definitely can count on.
We've seen Quentin do some good things this year. What do you see from his progress as a freshman?
Well, his whole thing will be the physical strength that he needs to gain this spring and summer. He's shown that he can play both positions effectively. Every mistake that is made, any time he's taken advantage of on the defensive end, or is not able to finish an offensive play of some sort, it goes back to his strength, you know. And so he needs to get stronger, and he knows that. And I think he's got a chance. I think it's shown that he has a chance to be a really good player in this league. Really good player.